I'm Jody Whites, results and success coach, and these podcasts teach you how to make significant changes to live your dreams, make a positive impact on the world, and drop your regrets. It's time for you to get spectacular. Welcome back to Your Spectacular Life. I'm Jody Whites, your professional and life coach, making sure that both of those areas are nothing less than spectacular. I'm here with Nick Jain. Hi, Nick.
Hello, Jody. How you doing?
I am great. I'm looking forward to this chat. Let me tell you a little bit about Nick. Nick Jain is the CEO of IdeaScale, the leading innovation software company. IdeaScale is the core of many leading global organizations' innovation efforts, including NASA, Comcast, NASCAR, Doctors Without Borders, and many others. He has worked at some of the top investing firms in the world, such as Bain Capital and Greenlight, and has led dramatic business transformations in three entirely different industries: trucking, men's shoes, and now B2B software. He's an expert at marketing, team management, and creating win-win-win outcomes. Nick has, and these include customers, employees, and shareholders. Nick has led an inspiring rags to riches story and started his life by being raised by a single grandmother in a small town in India and graduated at the top of his class from Harvard Business School. Wow, Nick, that is incredible. So, what was it like, growing up in India? And was your grandmother or even somebody else an inspiring influence on this life?
Firstly, thank you again for the very kind intro.
Oh, yeah.
So the answer is, let me answer the back half of your question first. My grandmother was truly an inspiring driving force in my life. She raised four generations of people. She raised her parents' generation. She was the oldest female child in colonial India, so raised her seven siblings, then raised my mother as a as a single woman in India, and then like raised me. So she, across 80 years, raised four generations of our family. So truly inspiring for somebody to do that. One of my happiest moments in my life was when she was able to attend my business school graduation. So that was,
Oh,
a crowning achievement for her life, for 80 years of effort put in. And then growing up in India was certainly a different experience. I live in Philadelphia now and have bounced between, New York, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Boston, all first world developed cities. But I remember as a child in India, we would get electricity maybe like 5, 6 hours a day, and
goodness.
water would run for 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes at night, and you had to fill up a water tank. So certainly a different experience than sitting here in Philadelphia where I have electricity and water most of the time.
Wow, that is amazing. And you've certainly come a long way. And going back to your grandma, was there anything that she kept telling you, kept pushing you to do? Something that was maybe in your mind that you could always think of?
Yeah, I'm not pushing. My grandmother was not a pushing person ever. She, was a strong values oriented person. Wanted me to grow up to be a good person. The one value that she always pushed, and this is kind of a classic old Confucian value, is the importance of education. And there's a phrase or an aphorism that I think roughly would translate into English as education is the one wealth which no one can ever take away from, or no, the world can never take away from you, right? You can lose your money, you can lose your car, your house can burn down, people in your life can leave, but knowledge which you gain will really stay with you forever. And so that investment of education as a ephemeral, as a transcendental good that you should just accumulate for its own good, not because it necessarily helps you in your career or other aspects, was something that she pushed and has been a driving force and value in my life.
That's wonderful. And I'm just want to let our listeners know that you graduated top in your class at Harvard and also went to Dartmouth, taking triple majors in mathematics, physics, and economics. One course wasn't enough for Dartmouth for you. And, just really took that to heart. So, out of all those, it looked like you stuck with economics because you had a number of jobs as financial analysts, CFOs, etc. And now it looks like you're doing something different. Is that true? And why did you switch to innovation software?
Sure. So now I'm CEO of IdeaScale. In the past, decade or so, my career, I've really been focused in areas manager. But the cool thing is it actually doesn't draw that much on the um, it doesn't draw that much on the economics part of what I learned. It much more actually weird enough draws on the math and physics part because if you study science or engineering in college, one of the things you learn is that it's very principles focused. It teaches you these are the laws of the universe. This is how a planet goes around the sun, or this is why, we breathe or photosynthesis happens. So it teaches you these first principles. And when you're running a business, there's lots of things going around, right? Lots of complex day-to-day actions. There's crazy things happening in the market. There's crazy things your competitors are doing. There's, pressures from all sides from your colleagues and teammates saying, do this, do this, do this. And sometimes it's really hard to think about like, hey, what is it that I actually should be doing or that we as an organization should be doing? Because you're always focused on whoever the loudest voice is, whoever the most senior person is.
Right.
Drawing upon that mathematics background, it just helps us or helps both me as a person as well as our organization stay centered and saying, look, we're going to try and do what's right. And here we very clearly define what right is. And it's not a matter of opinion, it's a matter of fact. And that just allows that sort of fact-based decision making and not based on opinions or feelings allows us to do well as an organization. And that really comes from the math side of my education.
That's great. Also, there's strategy based on facts that you can form a strategy in a very challenging market. Laws of the universe. I was going to ask, are there any laws of the universe for determining the market? I haven't seen it, but knowing you,
Yeah.
you'll probably come up with it. And
So
maybe the one law is
the
things will change, right?
I can give one for a market and one for a company, right?
Yeah,
Right. There's a fundamental law of the market in that it's chaotic. In a very if you've ever studied or heard of chaos theory, I think they
sure.
talked about it in Jurassic Park and Beautiful Mind. They always love talking about it in movies. Chaos theory is the idea that things are fundamentally unpredictable and uncomputable. You could have the world's biggest computer and you can still not figure out what's going to happen. And the cool thing about markets is you can prove they are chaotic. So it's actually a fool's errand to try and figure out what the stock market is going to do tomorrow or how your competitors are going to react a year from now. So it's not actually everyone spends so much time and effort trying to calculate that. And I know that it's actually a pointless task. There's much better ways to go about it. The technical ways you want to be anti-fragile. So regardless of the world throws at you, you can take it. Um, that's the rule of the market that it's actually stupid to try and figure out what's
Yeah.
going to happen. It's much easier to just develop yourself to be anti-fragile as a person or as an organization. And then for a company, a fundamental rule is like each company or organization creates value in different ways. The way a software company creates value is you build a software, it's really expensive, you sell it, but you don't actually make money by selling it. You make money by your customers coming back to you in year two, year three, year four, et cetera, by the recurring revenue stream. When you sell a burger, you're not your customer's not necessarily going to come back to you tomorrow for the same burger. So you really just have to make sure the materials are as cheap as possible and sell it for as high a
Hmm.
price as possible. Whereas in software, I'm actually okay selling price something for a low cost because I know that my customers are going to come back to me year after year after year. And that's really important to understand, like mechanically, how your business works, which is very different for a burger company, a
Sure.
restaurant, a consulting company, a software company, etc.
Absolutely. You really have to figure out, right, what are the benefits of what you're selling to people, and then how can you really cash in on those, not from a monetary standpoint, but really giving people value. And because that, with customer expectations, with employees and company culture and everything to bring the whole package together. What would you say your mission is of IdeaScale? What is the mission?
Sure. So IdeaScale prides itself on being the software that a large organization should come to if they want to innovate faster, better, and more systematically. So that's been we've been around about 15 years now. We have hundreds of, premier clients, some of whom you mentioned, like the Pfizer's and Comcasts of the world, Transportation Safety Authority, U.S. Post Office. All these organizations want to be better tomorrow than they are today. And our software, we are very focused on continuing to build and maintain a software that helps them achieve that goal of being better tomorrow than they are today.
That's great. What a great mission. I'm hearing that statement coming through loud and clear. So, why don't you tell our listeners how IdeaScale software is best used? Like, why would I
Sure.
purchase your
Sure.
software?
So let's imagine you work at a larger organization, the U.S. Post Office, right? Hundreds of thousands of mailmen, mailwomen going around, lots of clerks. There's the senior directors at, hundreds of thousands of people. How do they decide what they're going to do tomorrow? Realistically, in any typical large organization like the U.S. Post Office, there may be 10 or 20 people who sit at the headquarters and they say, hey, here, let's bounce around a few ideas in a room. It could be on a whiteboard, it could be in a conference room. And then they vote, or the senior most person says, I like that idea, I feel good about it, let's go do that. So really, it's a very small portion of your constituents who are actually coming up with ideas, and even smaller proportion who are making decisions. Turns out that's a really ineffective way to make decisions, because there's hundreds of thousands of people who are affiliated with the post office, and hundreds of millions if you include us as customers who interact with postmen and postwomen every day. What if our ideas could help the U.S. Post Office improve? So what our software does is it helps you collect ideas from anyone who's in your constituent group. It could be your employees, it could be your customers, it could be your shareholders,
Hmm.
your suppliers. It allows them to send you their best ideas, and then all the ideas are ranked, voted against one another. So it's not just the senior most person's idea that matters, but the best person's idea, who could be someone sitting in, who doesn't speak English, is very junior, maybe not as educated, but he or she has a great idea, and that idea will get voted up above the CEO's idea. And in fact, if it's a better idea, that's what'll get done instead of the loud CEO's idea, which really
Yeah.
shifts the paradigm from a seniority-based decision-making process to an idea meritocracy.
Yeah, and I love what you are talking about with really the C-suite or senior members getting the biggest say, and frankly, they may not know as part of a team how to really make things go much more effectively. And it switches the leadership style from a top down to a democratic leadership style where everybody has a voice and everybody has a say. Now, who would be, how would you determine, or what people would be looking at all this information? I mean, post office is a big company. Some of the other companies you've mentioned, very large.
Mhm.
Doctors Without Borders may be smaller, but how, you still have somebody with potential bias looking at these answers and saying, nah, won't work, maybe will work, potentially will work. How do you get around that?
Sure. So I think we get around that in a few ways, right? Number one, the if an organization is buying software like ours or buying consulting service, we don't do consulting, but buying software services that help them become more innovative, you hope that they're doing so in earnest, right? That they actually want to be better tomorrow. And part of when you want to do something earnest is say we're going to be serious about this. If you want to get in shape, you can't just say I'm going to get in shape you and give it lip service. You have to
Yeah.
actually emotionally commit that I'm going to get up and go to the gym or eat healthy or whatever, right? So firstly, we're hoping that the organizations are serious enough about it where they're going to be open-minded if they're engaged on an innovation journey. Secondly, is assuming that's the case, we create a lot of data transparency. So the people who are submitting their ideas, they are seeing ideas be voted up and down. They're seeing
Ah.
how decisions are being made. Um, so think of it almost like, on it's very much like a social media where you're seeing, certain posts get voted up and certain get down. And if somebody's got a thumb on the scale and you see like a really bad idea is being voted up, it shows, right? The wisdom of the
Right.
crowds or the intelligences of the crowds, they know when people know when good bad ideas are getting a thumb on the scale in their favor. So it's pretty transparent, and again, that's uncomfortable for a lot of organizations, but
Sure.
that's actually how you make good decisions, which is let the best ideas float to the top, not mix, pet projects.
Exactly. Exactly. I like that. You do have this crowd, you know, crowd of people weighing in on various things. I'm just going to come back and, it's hard for some people to say, no, I don't like this idea because that could be coming from a manager, a boss, someone senior, and then they'll remember it. So is there anyone that goes into the company when you buy it and has suggestions for equality, openness, the same things when we're in chat rooms, or, discussions or Zoom calls to really respect the opinions of others?
Sure. So first of all, what you said, it literally happened. So we use our own software to decide which new features we build. And it's really funny to sometimes see, I'm the CEO of the company, to see my ideas be downvoted and sometimes have negative votes. People think it's a terrible idea and see some junior person who joined like 3 months ago, his or her idea to float to the top. So that does happen. It requires a lot of humility on the part of both me and our customers, senior people. Say like, look, just because I'm senior doesn't mean I've got the brightest ideas all the time. Hopefully, I have some good ideas some of the time, right? So what you
Right.
said does happen. It requires humility on the senior people. Um, the thing is, it's not as uncomfortable an experience because there's a lot of anonymity involved. So without getting into the nitty gritty of it, our software can be configured so that the people can secretly vote. It's like right, so no
Uh-huh.
one knows that you're the one who voted down your boss's idea.
Excellent. You
No
didn't
one knows that
mention
you
that.
even submitted this idea,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you can turn all of that off, but most organizations allow a certain level of anonymity literally to surpass this problem because not as all organizations are emotionally mature enough where the
Yeah.
senior most people are comfortable with their ideas being publicly no, voted down. Some are, by the way, and those are great organizations because they've committed themselves spiritually and mission wise to best ideas win rather than senior people.
Right. Yeah. Excellent idea. Whether somebody in that company can really make a judgment call to say, are we, is the culture in our company open enough where anybody can speak up and they will, their ideas will be listened to thoughtfully, which are the best organizations, which have the best management, the best outcomes, the best innovations, etc., because and the most diverse. And that's what you really want when you're trying to make changes either with a product or the culture or make have ideas how to best sell that product is those diverse backgrounds. So bravo for
Thank you.
yeah, at least having the option of having anonymity and or having it totally open. Um, so what else are you thinking about building into this software, into IdeaScale?
Sure. So it's a kind of apropos that you asked that because sometime later this week, we're actually going to announce our long-term product map. We realized we were really good at the idea management portion of our customers' innovation journey, but there's lots of other things they struggle with: cultural transformation, unstructured thinking, turning ideas into reality, using AI effectively. So later this week, we'll announce the product roadmap, but basically what it boils down to is there's many problems that a large organization suffers in trying to be more innovative. And we're going to launch about 4 or 5 modules that'll help them attack other portions of the problem that we don't currently serve right now. So about 6 months ago, we launched a whiteboarding solution, which allows people just to toss the ball back and forth without needing to, write anything down or phrase anything eloquently. You can do unstructured thinking where it sounds stupid or looks ugly, doesn't have to be
Great.
pretty. Whereas um, and then in a few months, we'll be launching some co-pilot features with AI that will allow human beings to partner with AI to come up with better ideas together. So
Hmm.
right now, our software is really human powered. And I don't think a pure AI powered platform for ideation is in the future, but I do think or do know for a fact that a co-piloted program where humans and AIs work together to come up with better ideas is in the cards in the pretty near future.
Great. And what would that look like? I'm curious. Give me an example of, let's say I have a new idea for a product. What
Sure.
would
So let's
partnering or
yeah.
co-piloting, yeah, with AI
There, there,
look like?
there's gradations of it, right? At the simplest level, let's imagine English is not your native language, or even if it is, that you're not a great, talented writer, right? So a lot of people actually get stage fright. They may have the greatest idea, but they're afraid of writing it down because they realize they don't use, complex language or complex syntax. They sound stupider than they actually are. So that at the simplest level, AI will just help you sound better and help you look your best, basically present your idea most effectively. That's the most simplest version where it's your idea just reworded in a way that makes it sound, for lack of a better word, fancier. um, all the way to, hey, you have the inkling. The most extreme version is you have an inkling of an idea, you have a problem. Let's say you believe that car brakes really waste too much frictional energy. Okay, that energy can be saved to drive the car further, which helps the environment. Okay, but you don't know how to solve it. You're not an engineer. Maybe you are an engineer. I'm not an engineer. So I don't know. I know that there's a problem. I know there's wasted energy. I don't know how to solve it. So I propose the problem to AI, and AI will help me come up with multiple variations of, hey, you could use this energy to, power your windshield wiper fluids, or you could use it to heat the inside of a car in winter. Those are all sorts of cool ideas that I may not have come up with myself, but the AI, when posed with a problem, can come up with various ideas. And then there's in the middle where you have an idea roughly how to solve it, but your idea is only 80% complete because you may not lack the complete knowledge, or you may lack, some context, and the AI can fill in the puzzle. So anywhere from on the extreme end, just, taking your idea and writing it better, to coming up with the solutions for problems that you propose, to truly co-generating thoughtful ideas together, and anything in between.
That's great because we're all at different levels and we all bring our skills and gifts to the team or company. And, I wouldn't understand engineering, but, there are certain things that I can do to help the team communicate and be more successful, etc. What about using AI to market as a, co-pilot, just to understand what the market is out there? Because, innovation is so crucial to any company. I've got an idea. I don't know if anybody else out there is doing it or doing it in a way that is different from what's in my mind.
Sure. I think break apart what you just said into two questions. One is to do market research, and one is for marketing. On the marketing side, we've been using AI for marketing basically ever since it came out. We were early adopters for that. So we've really accepted AI as to help us write videos, to help us write emails, to help us write content scripts, whatever, right? So we've been using that very effectively. In all fairness, so have a lot of other people. I think we were reasonably early adopters, but I don't think we're doing anything too crazy or special there. And that's just within our marketing and sales departments. Market research. So it is interesting. AI can help you absorb lots of information, summarize it for you. Unfortunately, at least with the current models that are out today, they often don't have timely information because all the AI
Mm.
models, whether you're talking ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or Llama, they all have cutoff dates for when they don't know information after that. And going back to what happens in the markets, when you and your competitors are doing different things each day, you need to know what's happening today. So it's not, at least the AI technologies that are out there right now are not as effective at doing market research because they're not providing you timely information, maybe a year out of date. And a year is, is a lifetime in business.
Yeah, that is a big one. Yeah, it'd be interesting if somebody or AI companies can really put those parameters into those searches. And I still agree with you that that's going to be difficult because how do you get today's information? I don't know whether it could go out and accumulate that.
They have solved that problem from a technical point of view. It's called retrieval augmented generation. So it's a
Interesting.
technology that's been around about 8 or 9 months.
Uh-huh.
The only problem is it's reasonably expensive to run. So like the free version of Gemini and ChatGPT are not going to be using that technology. The $2,000 a month version that OpenAI just announced, they're probably going to be using that technology. But how many of us are willing to pay $2,000 a month per user, right? That's
Wow.
probably not even accessible to the largest tech companies. They're not going to pay $2,000 per user across their 100,000 users per month, right?
Right, right. Well, at least, AI, from what you're saying and what we're just talking about, it can be a jumping off point. Can provide you with information, and then you have to do the rest of the research to see, where they're at this time in the cycle. Definitely. Great. Um, well, Nick, I love your product. I love how it is the great equalizer in companies for people that really have a lot to say and have a lot to contribute and get an opportunity to do that. Have you seen that within various companies where people who are, may not even be known by some of the managers are really coming out and shining as stars for recommending great ideas?
Absolutely. And again, I'll give two examples of that. Number one, I see that every day in my company, right? I've got 100 people across 7 countries. I'm the CEO of the company. I try and meet every single employee when they join, but sometimes I don't get to meet them for 6 months, right? So I'll see a junior employee who I've never met before, no idea who they are, which department even they said, and somehow their ideas are getting voted up. And that's like a really cool idea. So you see that every day. I see that every day within our own company, but also when I see that my clients, where especially for large distributed organizations that may have a white collar workforce, they may have a blue collar
Yeah.
workforce, you'll get a lot of really interesting ideas. And actually, one of the cool problems that we've been, that our clients are surprised sometimes how easy to solve is when you have a workforce that is, a small white collar workforce, then an extremely large, diverse blue collar workforce that may have, language problems or not as easy access to technology. And yet when they're voicing their cool ideas and cool ideas are being done by virtue of a less educated workforce, that's surprising and incredibly powerful because a lot of these organizations, like I used to run a trucking company, 90% of
Yeah.
my workforce was blue collar and was not using technology the way the white collar workforce was. And yet there were extraordinary ideas coming out of them that we valued because they're 90% of our workforce. So they really know what's going on with the business much more
Yeah.
than I would.
Yeah. That is great. I love hearing that because it really does bring out the gifts so that everybody can see and you got to celebrate the people who are doing that. And they actually know what's going on and they've had different experiences and different opportunities. So I love what IdeaScale is doing. Now, Nick, if anyone wanted more information about your product, how can they get a hold of you?
Sure. So three ways. Number one, you can obviously go to ideascale.com. If you go there, by the way, if your organization is less than 100 people, our software is completely free. So you could sign up for free
Goodness.
for any small organization, whether you're a one-person organization or a 99% organization. Alternatively, you can find me on LinkedIn most easily, Nick Jain, and I respond to 100% of messages people send me on LinkedIn. So glad to be
Yeah.
helpful.
And Jane is spelled Jain.
Jain.
Right, right. It's easy to pronounce, and we just want to let people know how
Yeah.
to find you on
I'm sure if you
LinkedIn.
search, I'm sure you
Yeah,
search a different spelling. I'm usually the top pop up on LinkedIn.
great.
So
Sounds like you're an active person on LinkedIn, which is great. A CEO responding
absolutely.
100% to inquiries. I mean, right away. That's amazing. All
Well, if
right.
I'm not, you have to lead by example. If I'm not
Yeah.
willing to respond to my customers, how can I hold my salespeople or my engineers to be responsive to me, right? Uh, so
Well, again, great to hear that as a leader, as a modeling what you want to see everyone else do, and again, what to do that is right. You know, what is right, as we were talking back on values and mission statement all the way back, I believe, to your grandmother. So, well, Nick, it's been a pleasure speaking with you and hearing about this product, which I think is great. Really make people feel valued in a company, and it will grow from some of the other things I'm hearing about the trajectory of the product as well. So I want to thank you for taking the time to come on the air and let our listeners hear this great story.
thank you so much for having me, Jody. It's been a
Yeah,
pleasure.
great. All right, you take care, right? I'm so grateful that you've listened to the end of this podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and review it, and share it with your friends. I love teaching insights so that you can have a more impactful and meaningful life. It's my mission to build a thriving community of happy, fulfilled people. Want more? Visit my website at yourspectacularlife.com.